YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. And in this video, I'm going through every single NFL team, and I'm going to give you the most overrated player on each of those teams, in my opinion. Something I want to make clear, overrated does not equal bad. I don't know why some people think that, but a lot of these players are good, very good, or you could argue is the best player on their team. I just maybe think they're slightly overrated. Some teams really don't have an overrated player. I just made it a goal of choosing the most overrated, or if I had to pick one on each team. If I left teams out, that'd be a little weird. And I am doing this video for underrated players on each team as well. So right before we get started, a couple things. We have Patreon memberships available. Link in the description. You can see the link. You can type in at the top there, patreon.com/goathouse. You can get access to our private Discord chat. We're always discussing NFL on there. Some people are already in it, constantly talking. A lot of debates going on. So I think anybody that just enjoys talking NFL would really enjoy that. So you can join that. You can join our NFL Pick'ems League before it's too late. And there's bonus videos and plenty more, and you can help support our channel and help it grow. Link in the description. Much appreciated if you just checked it out there. And then 40K is our subscriber goal by the end of this year. Much appreciated if you could subscribe to the channel. If you already do subscribe, we love you. Click that like button. Check out our Twitter. We will have full coverage of the NFL right here on YouTube during the season. Cannot wait. Let's get on with the video. This one's going to come with a lot of hate. That's okay. The Cardinals are first, and unfortunately, I think the Cardinals have quite a few options for most overrated player. I went with DJ Swearinger. Never thought he was that good of a safety. Hard-hitting safety, flies around a lot, does whiff on a lot of tackles. Seems like he flies around with his head down a lot. Doesn't have the best angles. So this is one of the guys that I do really think is overrated. I think Pro Football Focus started it. Pro Football Focus slapped a grade on him that was through like 5 games or something. I don't know what it was, but then people start losing their minds. From what I've seen and, his play in general, I don't really think, he's a solid safety, but he's nothing special, nothing what people expect or think. So I think he's up here. I really could put a couple guys up here for the Cardinals too. David Johnson's had one really good year. I'm a believer in him, but I think the hype's a little too strong. And then Terrell Suggs, I don't think is the same pass rusher he once was. I know he's not the pass rusher he once was, so maybe a little bit too hyped there, but I thought Swearinger was the right choice for the Cardinals. For the Falcons, I went Desmond Trufant. I think a good corner. There's just some people out there that, rate him pretty high. They have him as maybe a top 10 corner, and people just think he's a top-tier corner. I know not a lot of people think that, but I just don't know if he's that good. I do think he's good. A little inconsistent. Some games will look ridiculous. And he can tackle. He can come up and tackle. Will get lost in coverage here and there if I had to split hairs. I think overall a good corner. Just some people are just a little higher on him than maybe I am, and that's why he's up here. The Ravens is next. I went with Mark Ingram. I thought for the last few years he was kind of on the overrated side, even though he's a very good running back, definitely a good running back in my opinion. I just thought, looking when he was on the Saints, I thought there was a little too much hype. People hyped up Ingram all the time. I thought Kamara was the much, much better running back. And now with the Ravens, so many people are just saying how perfect a fit he is and how perfect he is with that system. I don't know where they're coming up with that. I'm not saying he's going to be bad at all. I think he'll be good. He definitely will make a huge impact, definitely help the team. I definitely think it's a good signing, and I think he'll work out in the system. But to rave about him being in that system, like, where are they getting that from? He never played in this, like, exact system. Nothing's, like, leading people to, us to say he's going to be just excellent. His stats will probably look better because he's the main guy. I think they'll use Edwards and Justice Hill quite a bit too, but I just think a little bit too much hype, and that's why he's on the overrated side. I do think he's good, however, so don't get me wrong. People will get me wrong all over the place here, especially the people that just skim through and look at the pictures. I don't like when people do that. Listen to what I have to say. The Bills is another one. I think a very good corner and a young corner could be known a few years down the line, maybe 5 years down the road here, as maybe the best corner in football. But the reason he's up here is because I had to pick somebody for the Bills. Tre'Davious White, that is. Don't know if I announced who it was. People are a little higher on him than I am on him. That's the main reason he's up here. If I had to split hairs or find flaws, I do think he gets beat more than people think. So a lot of times he makes up for it and make a play after he gets beat. That actually popped up quite a bit last year for me. But a physical corner, very good corner, on his way to the top. I just think people, pretty much everybody, if you ask pretty much anybody that watches football, any expert out there to rank corners, they will probably be higher on Tre'Davious White than I am. That's the reason he's up here. He's on his way up, though. The Panthers one with Greg Olsen. I mean, people are just continue to, I think expectations are too high, and that's what leads him to be overrated. They're just a little too high. I just keep waiting for him to retire. I mean, he can still play if he stays healthy. It's just, I almost expect him to get hurt. I hate saying that, and I don't expect too much great play. And like people just every year, it's just like, oh, Greg Olsen's coming back. He's going to be healthy, and then that Cam Greg Olsen connection is going to be back. And it was great. It was a great duo, great connection. It's just too much expectations. That's what leads him to be up here. The Bears is next. It's going to be another tight end. It's going to be Trey Burton. I've never really been a Trey Burton fan. Former quarterback switching over to tight end, so I guess that's pretty impressive. But I think he relies on his athletic ability, and I was saying this when he was on the Eagles as well. I think he relies on his athletic ability too often, or pretty much every time. I think he fits the Bears system where he kind of can just get wide open. And I mean, kudos to him for getting wide open. But and it comes with switching positions. I really don't think he's got the the tight end instincts down. I don't really know if he knows how to play the position fully, which I guess in a way is impressive. I mean, he does get open. I mean, we just see. I think he just needs to be open for him to be, a big time play. I don't think he's gonna be a big time playmaker if it's a catch in traffic or anything. So I think it kind of needs to be laid out for him. I've never been super high on Burton, and surprised that people are higher on him than I am. The Bengals is next. Didn't really have a good one for the Bengals. It's one of those teams where I didn't really feel like they really had a true overrated player. I went with Dunlap because I don't think he's the pass rusher he used to be. Maybe a little bit too much expectations. But again, I really don't think there's anybody that's just a glaring overrated player on the Bengals. It was kind of a tough one. So I went with Dunlap. Maybe there's some Bengals fans that expect a little bit too much, but this video is more for the overrated players in general around, everywhere. So Browns are next. I want Olivier Vernon. Some people just think he's just this excellent pass rusher. Like, he had a couple, maybe one really good year in Miami, and just hasn't really, just never lived up to the hype to me. I thought I would actually categorize it as a bad year last year. I did not like his game. I mean, he'll get after the quarterback here and there. Definitely struggles in the run game. I just think there's too much hype, expectations, and people just kind of it's stuck in their mind what he once was or what people thought he was going to become. I think he'll be good because he's opposite of Myles Garrett and a good defense, but still at the same time, just a little overrated. The Cowboys, another team that was a tough one to pick, but I went with Amari Cooper, who I think is a very good receiver. But, he kind of appears and disappears at times. We saw that in the Raiders, and last year the Cowboys traded for him, and the people were saying how terrible of a trade it was, and then he started going off. But he went off for, when he went off, but it's still a short period. If you look at just an entire NFL season in general, and then even what it takes to be known as like a top tier receiver, it takes years and years, and people are already kind of, nobody really says he's top tier, but people almost bring him into that discussion, towards that discussion of maybe top 10. And that's kind of only based off half a year, a little less than half a year. So, maybe people are labeling him a little too early, and that's why he's up here. But I'm a believer he can continue to play that way. I'm not saying he's not going to play that way. It's just, let him do more before you give him that label. I think a very good receiver, though. I'm not doubting the man whatsoever. Hopefully nobody takes me wrong in any of these. The Broncos, I went with Derek Wolfe. Another one that had a couple good years, maybe one really good year, not too many, and then people kind of, labeled him and kind of just I think the expectations are, he's going to be back. He's going to be that guy again. And he's a solid player. Definitely a solid player. But I don't know if that guy's coming back. And I think the expectations is what leads him to be right here on this video for the Broncos. The Lions is next, and I had to do the quarterback. I had to put the quarterback up here, Matt Stafford. And people just, I guess remembering what he was supposed to be and what he can become in the idea of Matt Stafford, and you see glimpses. You see all these great throws, and he's had his good seasons, really good seasons. And people it's stuck in their head that, some people are different. A lot of people are different on Stafford, but there's some people that have him and believe he can be an elite quarterback still. I think he could be a good quarterback, darn good quarterback, not quite that high. And I just think it's one of those guys where there's just so many excuses for. Like when he plays bad, which I think he had a bad year last year, which I think he'll be better this year, but some wild excuses I've seen. It's just there's really no one to blame but himself when he makes the mistakes. So, I that's the reason I put him up here, but I think he's a good quarterback. I think he can be better, and I think he will be better this year. The Packers next. I want Adrian Amos here, and, just a new signing here. Used to be with the Bears, and, I think, and I'm not basing it off of any of this off the contract, I'm just talking about, people's view on him, I guess, worldwide on all these players. Nothing's really based on contracts, so don't get me wrong there. I think it applied for the Bears, for when he was on the Bears too. And I think both teams are in the wrong too. Since the Packers signed him, the Bears fans are ripping the Packers like, oh, he's not good anymore. He wasn't even good last year. And the Packers fans are just saying he's super good and, going to be really good when they were bashing. I think both teams are in the wrong. Basically, the Bears fans thought he was really good, and then now he's on the Packers. I think he's bad, and the Packers thought he was bad. Fans thought he was bad, and now he's on the Packers good. So both teams in the fan bases, I should say, in the wrong there. But yeah, you think back, I probably would have said the same thing last year because before last year started, just based off the year before, Bears fans wanted this guy ranked top 5 safeties, at the very worst top 10. That was just based off 1 year. And then just like that, they changed their mind. Just like that, because Eddie Jackson comes in and because Amos is gone. And I think the Packers fans are expecting kind of that 1 year of Adrian Amos. And I think the expectations are a little high. A little off last year. I think he's a good safety, good young safety, could get better. Just expectations a little high here. The Texans are next, and a very good player for the Texans, maybe their best overall player possibly. I went with J.J. Watt, and I think it's hard putting J.J. Watt up here. Very likable guy and a top-tier talent, still is. I just don't think he's as good as he once was. He's still very good, but not as good as he once was. And, I did notice he would disappear late in games in important situations and in the playoff game last year. So, I think people still think he's the same J.J. Watt, and I really don't think it honestly might not be that close, even though he's still the seasons he had was some of the best defensive seasons you can possibly have, and I don't really think he's close there, even though I do think he's very good. I think he could slightly be on the decline, very slightly, but still a very good player. The Colts will be next. Hard to pick one for the Colts. I picked Ryan Kelly. Him coming out of college, even back then, I never was super high on Kelly. And I think they've had their rough offensive lines, and I know last year was a lot better. And he does deserve some credit, but I think the credit really doesn't go to guys like that. I think the scheme and then the new players there. So. I've never been a huge Ryan Kelly fan, but I do think he's good. I definitely think he's good. I just don't think he's a top-tier center like some people think. So that's why he's up here. And then not a lot to choose from the Colts, though. And then for the Jaguars, I went with Myles Jack. A lot of expectations from him. And, he hasn't – last year I think he had a rough season. I think people are just a little too hyped on him than they should be. I do like his upside. I loved him as a prospect, so I think he can get there. I just think there's just a little too much hype and expectations. The Chiefs will be next. I want Tyrann Mathieu, a very good playmaker, and the reason he's up here, people sometimes everyone's higher on him than me. Another one of those situations. If you're asked to rank DBs in general or safeties, I'm gonna be a little lower than everyone else. Sometimes I feel like his best play comes from the slot. So, as a true safety, maybe a little overrated, but a darn good playmaker, good signing for the Chiefs. That it definitely made them better. It's just people are higher on him than I am. So that's why he's up here. The Chargers, I went with Bosa, a very good player, a very good pass rusher, but people kind of put him in that elite category when I don't know if he's really proven it yet. The idea of Joey Bosa is elite. The idea. Kind of want to see more. Some players had to do so much to get that label, and then some players don't have to do a whole bunch. I don't really get it. But I'm predicting Bosa to have a really good year as long as he's healthy. That's kind of another thing. People just automatically assume he's 100% healthy and he's going to stay healthy. But I think he's darn. I had if you saw my pass rush rankings, the players and the units, I'm not going to spoil anything if you haven't seen him, but I'm pretty damn high on Bosa and the Chargers pass rush. I just think, needs to do a little more to get that status, I guess, and that's why he's up here. Rams are next. I went with Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff is a darn good young quarterback. Could get better. That's the scary thing. But I think just another one of those. A little bit too much hype, a little bit too much expectations. People can think he can get to like MVP status this year. I would say not so fast on that. Teams really started to figure him out, and he really struggled under pressure. Not saying that'll continue or will it or won't. I do think he's a very good young quarterback, and like I said, could get better, and that could be scary. That's just my decision for the Rams here. The Dolphins are next, and I went with Mike Gesicki. Not a really good, obvious choice for the Dolphins. I went with Gesicki. I never was high on him out of Penn State either. Just kind of a tall tight end. You can kind of throw the ball up to on the sideline, and maybe he'll come down with it. That's kind of just how I view him, and I think people have higher expectations, higher views on him, so that is the reason he is on here. Another tight end in the next one for the Minnesota Vikings. I put Kyle Rudolph. Another one I think is a darn good tight end. I think he has been a very consistent tight end and a balanced tight end in terms of catching the ball and blocking. There's some people out there that'll still put Rudolph in the top 10, maybe in the top 5 of their tight ends, and that's where I think maybe a little overrated, but still pretty clutch for the Vikings, but they're adding more tight ends, I think, for a reason. So I do think he's still a darn good tight end and important to that team. It's just, some people maybe a little higher on him than I am, but I guess pretty close. Patriots next. I want Michael Bennett. Don't think he's the same as he used to be, even though I do think he plays better this season than he did last season. I do think that, and I think he's a good pass rusher, a guy you can move around the D-line. He's just not today's pass rusher. He's just not he's not the same as he used to be. Not too many overrated guys in the Patriots, so that's why I choose him. Saints next. Marshawn Lattimore for me. Honestly, an easy choice because people are way, way higher on Lattimore than I am. I think a good corner. I think his best year was his rookie year still. He does get beat. And people don't. It kind of just goes unnoticed. Some people notice when guys get beat, and some people it doesn't get noticed. And I think he's one of the guys. He kind of gets turned around in coverage, gets beat. He's a playmaker. He was pretty fortunate last year, I thought. I think he's a good corner, good young corner. Seems like those some of the Ohio State corners just automatically people were high on. People talk about elite corners, and some people might throw Lattimore up there. I just think that's crazy. The Giants next, another corner, put Janoris Jenkins. One year, maybe he was known as the best corner in football. He was definitely up there and had some good years. He's just nowhere near the same. He doesn't have it anymore, and people have a little bit too much expectations. I know people cooled off on him for sure, but a little bit too much expectations, so that's why Janoris Jenkins is up here. The Jets is next, and it's actually Sam Darnold, second-year quarterback. I believe in his potential long-term. I still think he has some work to do, but people are still insisting on him being the best quarterback from last year's draft class. Even if he reaches that potential, I'm still not seeing it. Baker was my clear-cut number 1, and I could argue some other quarterbacks from that draft class, and people are already hyping the Jets and Darnold up like he's going to be, him and Gase is a great fit. He's going to be great this year. To say not so fast, I don't know. Pretty much his whole career, college and it's only 1 year in the NFL, but pretty much all he's shown me is that he can throw the ball, some potential, but turnovers. He turns the ball over consistently, and I think we can. It's not going to disappear. It doesn't work like that. We can take down the interceptions, but from a guy that's kind of just consistently shown turnovers so far at this stage, hype is too high. It's too high. Raiders is next. We went Tyrell Williams. I don't know if he's ever had a really, really good season. Pretty solid season last year. Did have some drops that I did not like, crucial ones, ones you expect a receiver to catch. I think he's a good target. Has some upside still, and I just think it has nothing to do with the contract. I think just people, even leading into free agency, people thought he was like a top tier target of free agency, and a bunch of teams were after him actually. So they said. So I just think he's too much expectations to me. But he's solid, good receiver. Eagles next. I went with Jalen Mills, cornerback of the Eagles, former safety. So impressed if he switched to corner. But another guy that I think people just hype up. People like his attitude. Like that he was kind of a steal of the draft, but I mean he gets beat a lot too. He gets lost in coverage. I think I'm just not seeing what other people are seeing, and I watch a lot of football. I feel like I'm really good at judging defensive backs too. I think that's where my strength would be, and he has potential upside. He's had his good playmaking moments. I think the future might hold some better corners on the Eagles, though. I like some of the other young corners. It depends on who's healthy, who's not, I guess. Steelers would be next. One with Joe Hayden, so quite a few corners come off the board here. Hayden, great career. Definitely on the decline. I don't think he's anywhere near as good as he was before. Still solid, but I think really that secondary in general gets away with a lot because how good the pass rush and the front seven is. So that'll be the reason Hayden is up here. I think a little too hyped still. Seahawks would be next. I went with KJ Wright, another guy that's just not the same as he once was. Nowhere near the same. I think injuries kind of, I don't want to say did him in because he can still play and he can still start, still make an impact, but kind of made him decline a little bit, I should say. And he's definitely slowed down because of that, I think, quite a bit. But he still can play, big time game in the playoffs against the Cowboys, actually. So that was huge. If I had to pick one, it'd be KJ Wright. The Niners, I went with Jimmy Garoppolo. He won 6 games or so in a row at the end of the season that one year, and he was Tom Brady's backup. For those reasons, he's a top-tier quarterback, and not everybody says he's a top-tier quarterback, but for those reasons, people hyped him up way too much. And, at the end of the season, when the season's over, it didn't mean too much to me. And then, the fact that the Patriots would let him go, would trade him, tells me a lot, honestly. But that doesn't mean he's not good. I know what he's capable of. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's not going to be a great quarterback, in my opinion. He's a good quarterback. I think a little inconsistent. But I think it was the easy choice for me to put him up here for the Niners, unfortunately. Buccaneers would be next. Went with Ndamukong Suh. What this guy actually can play, what he actually can produce is very good, actually. The playoffs, example last year, he was very good, pretty close to Aaron Donald in terms of how he played in the playoffs. He's not Aaron Donald, but how he played in the playoffs wasn't far off. Regular season, I'm going to go ahead and say he didn't try because he was non-existent. And I think that's kind of what we're going to get, and I think people are a little too hyped about the pickup, kind of just remembering playoffs and not what he did during the whole season. If Tampa can get in the playoffs, then maybe you're in business. Titans be next. I wanted Adoree Jackson. Not really. It was a hard one to choose one from the Titans, but I kind of thought he was always a little too hyped, even out of USC. And, a lot of expectations. And he's very young still, very young corner from what draft class he came out of. And, he's got a lot of potential. I just think maybe a little bit too much hype there was since really him coming out of high school even. So that's why he's up here. And the Redskins will be last. Landon Collins, who I think fits the Redskins. I think he's a good safety, maybe better than a good safety, and will help and make an impact on the Redskins. I just always think was kind of on the overrated side. There was a time where people said he was an elite safety. He was a top-tier safety to rank him in top 5, top 10. I think people definitely still would do that. And then the trade deadline came along last year, and people heard that Landon Collins could be traded because he's not happy with the Giants, and people were expecting first-round pick. Maybe it was mostly Giants fans. We're going to get a first-round pick, and some people were like, okay, you can go for a first-round pick, maybe a second. And I was mind blown by that. I didn't think he was worth that at all. And then you kind of learn over time that they couldn't find a trade partner. Those rumors that some teams were, they were in discussion with some teams about possibly a third-round draft pick would be offered, but nothing ever got done. For the most part, teams were offering less than a third-round pick. So maybe the hype calmed down a little bit. This has nothing to do with the contract, though. Again, great fit, impact player for the Redskins. I think he's good, still has some upside. I just think he'll always been on the overrated side. That's going to do it for the overrated players, though. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are. I know I'm going to get ripped for this one, but at least nobody can call me a hater because on a team, because I did this for every single team, at least. But I will do the underrated one. That's how we do it. We do the overrated one first, get everybody nice and pissed off, and then we do the underrated one. Everyone's like, all right, yeah, we like you now. So the good strategy over here. That's going to do it. Full coverage of the NFL season in season, so hopefully you can join us for that. Turn on notifications. Click that subscribe button. It'll be worth it, and we'll appreciate it very much. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.